Hello everybody, it's Victoria Baylor, one half of the duo of the Tailor and The Dressmaker show. I am filming in my home studio. Hello. I bet the dog who's sitting on the floor over there is looking at me like I'm crazy. She's wondering who I'm talking to. Well, anyway, welcome to my humble abode. This is my home away from home. Actually, this is the studio within my home. But we are shooting here today. Mr. Jim could not be with us today. Or rather, I could not be with him, so I'm heading up this video. Anyhow, this is something I want to show you guys that I've been wanting to show you for quite some time, so this couldn't have been a more opportune time to do that. So what I would like to kind of showcase is something that's really neat, something that I learned when I was doing costume work for the ballet, which I have another round of costume work slated for the ballet, so that's kind of good news. I just found that out. I'm doing 2 sets of costumes, pretty simple, but still excited about it. Anyhow, what I keep tapping on is my actual cutting table, and really what I want you to pay attention to, which I'm not sure if you can see very, very well, is the surface of my cutting table. So my cutting table is actually a lot narrower than the top cutting surface, which brings me to the whole point of this video. I would like to show you how you can actually convert your cutting table into a pinnable cutting table. And you might ask, why is it important to pin to my table? Well, there are lots of reasons, and I really actually will demonstrate that on next week. But as for now, well, we'll just give you a little showcase. So if you are working with something very thin, like, chiffons or finer fabrics, sometimes it's better to just stick those right into the table. You like the sound effects? Stick those right into the table so that they don't move on you. A lot of people, I'm a rotary mat person, so usually my rotary mat actually sits on top of this table, but when I decide to work with certain types of fabrics, I can move it off and actually pin into it. And when I do my costuming work, believe it or not, when we flat line, which is we actually mark on top of like a cotton base something or either organza, and that particular thing gets affixed to the actual garment fabric, gets sewn on it, and it has all the lines on it that's transferred to the fabric. So it's kind of a neat way to transfer important darts lines, seam allowance lines, get those cut out and transfer them to the actual fabric. You can do it the pinnable way. So it's real easy. If you're interested in doing that, again, you want to pay attention to next week's video, which gives you the reasons why, but I will show you the hows today, and this is how you do it. It's really simple. So you can't really see the full span of my cutting table. It goes from here all the way down here. I think it is, how long is this thing? It is about, let's see, I think we're looking at, it's just shy of, turn it this way. I like to know exact measurements myself. Oh, I guess if I turn my ruler the right way, I would know that. Give me 1 second. It is about, it's almost about 2 feet, so which is nice. That's a good length for a cutting table. And then width-wise, it's sitting at about, let's see, we are 40 inches wide. Not bad. Technically, I would love to have a 60-inch wide table. I don't even have to tell you why. You can completely lay open your fabrics and do stuff on when you have single layer designs, but I am not complaining. I can always take that to the floor in the living room. But anyway, so this is mine. It's about 2 yards and then 40 inches, just a little bit over a yard width-wise. So, and again, the table underneath this surface is actually narrower. So what's really cool is I was able to expand this surface of my original cutting table and then make it pinnable. So it's done real easy. So what I have here are just the leftovers from when I actually did the conversion. So what I have is plywood underneath here. I don't have to tell you what that looks like. Okay, just trust me, it's plywood. I think it is, oh shoot, it might be ½ an inch thick, I do believe. I used to work in a hardware store. It's funny, I used to be actually good at that kind of stuff. Yep, ½ inch plywood. And this is what's the interesting thing, is this top surface, which is actually the pinnable surface. And most people would think this is a kind of a, I guess, a particle board. It is kind of, sort of, but it's a little bit more complicated than that. Some people might call it, I think there's a brand name called Homosote, and this is used actually, I'm trying to think of all the situations it's used. I don't know if it's kind of used for, I forget. Anyway, I can't remember. But it is a particle board like substance. So I can't give you a specific type name on what this is. Again, Homoso is like the brand name, but I didn't find it under that name. And actually I'll track that down for next week's show. But in the meantime, you can find something like particle board. I think I went to Home Depot. Excuse me. I don't know what my kid's doing upstairs. Stop banging! Sorry. I'm recording! Sorry. Motherhood never stops, as you know. Anyway, so this is, of course, some kind of particle board substance. Now, the thing to pay attention to, even if you don't know what it is, you want to make sure it can do what it can do. So you don't need a brand name. What you need to do is when you go to look for this material, you want to bring a push pin with you, and you want to test it. So if it goes in and stays in pretty well, it is your board, okay? So just know that. So you want to take a push pin, and then actually even more specific, I'll show you another type of push pin to take. This is your regular type push pin. I'll show you the actual one you're supposed to use. But you do want a particle board like surface. Whatever size you designate for your particular table, you can get it cut down. I got mine cut down. This was the remnant for both the particle board and for the plywood. I went to a lumber yard to get the plywood, and then again I went, I think it was Home Depot, to get this particular type of particle board. No one could track it down by name. Again, I apologize. So I just went in and started looking. I found it. I was like, okay, cool. And then the characteristics of this is, and let me hold that thought before I show you that. Let me tell you exactly. You won't use regular push pins. You're going to use these really nifty, they're aluminum push pins. They look like this. Okay. Hopefully you can see that really good. I think I got these. I actually bought these off Amazon because these were hard to track down. They were really expensive. You do not get them off Amazon. You could get 100, I think, for $6. But if you buy them somewhere like Office Depot, oh my gosh, you get like 10 of them and it's going to be gangbusters. Anyhow, these are a lot longer than your normal push pin, as you can see. So you need the longer push pin when using this type of particle board. It sticks in a lot better. You don't have to worry about anything moving. And again, you're using your push pin to actually excuse me, place down fabric, overlay patterns on top of that, fix it in if you want to transfer lines using tracing paper, which is one of the reasons to use this method if you like. I'm trying to think of some other means by which you'd have to do that. No, I think mainly when it comes to something like tracing. I'm sure there's lots of other reasons where you'd want to push your pattern in and do whatever. But if you had your pattern kind of pushed in on your fabric and you had to cut it out, that would kind of be weird. So it'd be hard because it'd be partially fixed. So mainly I use this method for clarification to actually use with tracing paper, which I'll demonstrate next week. But this is the larger size push pin. And then it goes in, and you see how well that goes in? I mean, it doesn't even come out. You have to really kind of, it'll come out if you pull on it, but see how hard it pushes in? So that's one good sign that this is a good push pin, and this is a great particle board for you. So you want to test that out. Again, it's really easy to actually do this. Once again, to convert your cutting table to a pinnable cutting table only requires a sheet of plywood, about 1/2 inch, because you want to definitely have something thick enough to stabilize this, because this is pretty wonky and it's actually really light if you think about it. I mean, it's just kind of thickened. It's particle board, so you can tear into it. As you can see, it's a piece missing here. So this on top makes it very strong and well supported, and then if that sits on your table, you have a really nice surface to, once again, you can affix your patterns or fabrics down or whatever you'd like to do, mainly for the purpose of cutting, or I'm sorry, tracing. And right here, which I will show next week and kind of give a demonstration, I ordered brand spanking new tracing paper from Richard the Thread, which is really great. I ordered lots of sheets, as you can tell, in the blue color, so this is the lighter blue, and in the white, and I'll explain that on next week, and I'll kind of demonstrate how I actually use them with this pinnable surface. So if you've ever been interested in, and again, you can still use this surface despite it being, you know, converted to pinnable. And actually what you'll see here, if you look down, I put craft paper, or oftentimes I even do the thick pattern, like that manila kind of thick paper that's used to make patterns that, you know, people actually keep. I will put that down on the surface just to kind of protect, because you know, with this being particle board, you have those loose wood fibers, and to prevent any of that from sticking to like your chiffons and things like that, just put down a nice clean surface, and then you can do all your work and then just pin into it. Also, what I didn't mention, and God, and forgive me, this is what happens when you film from home and your brain's all over the place. In addition to using tracing paper, this is an excellent means to actually do pattern work. So you're actually making patterns. It's awesome, because oftentimes in pattern making, you'll have to take a piece, put it down, pin it into your board, and then kind of shift and maneuver and do some tracing. This keeps your patterns completely still while you're, you know, making adjustments or doing whatever you need to. So there are a lot of great uses for this type of board conversion, which is great. And this beats the heck out of having just a plain board, right? You can just have a plain solid surface, that's fine. But this kind of gives you a little duality. You can have a plain flat surface, because you can't tell what this is underneath the brown paper, and then when needed, you can pin into it, which is really great. And if your brown paper gets riddled with holes, as mine's do, or as when I was doing costume work, ours did when I was working with my colleague, you just take it off and then add another paper. But this should last you for a good while. So anyhow, that's my tip on how to convert your cutting table into a pinnable table. Check us out next week, and I will show you exactly how I use this and how tracing paper, the real good stuff, comes in handy. And even doing pattern manipulations can come in handy when you have this type of surface. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Victoria, one half of the Tailor and the Dressmaker show duo. Mr. Jim sends his regards. Thanks for checking us out. Don't forget, we have a basic sewing course coming up, and we're going to actually extend by 1 week our last troubleshooting sewing show. So if you have any more questions, please get those in. Okay, hope you enjoyed this little snippet. Hope you could hear me okay in this little tiny spot of mine. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.